What's up, everyone? My name is Tyler. You're watching Mom's Basement MMA, and today I am joined by Kuba Kaszuba. He's the PFL Lightweight Champion. Kuba, welcome back to the program. 12-0. We're still undefeated, baby, and congratulations to you for all that you accomplished last year. PFL Lightweight Champion. That's pretty cool, man.
Thank you so much. Glad to be with you, Tyler, as always.
Yes, sir. Well, for a lot of people, you're still a brand new face in the
Oh
world
yeah.
of PFL, and I'm hoping you can explain to people your nickname is the Auditor. I think that's pretty badass. Can you explain to people how you got started going by that nickname?
I'll go back to my origins. Well, I guess it started. I was originally the boar, because in Poland we have our predator, top predator in the forest is a boar, right? You see a boar, you're like, oh shit, I'm gonna die or I gotta run, because they're humongous in Poland. Not like Florida boars are these little pests essentially. But I was the boar for a long time. But after that movie, The Accountant, came out with Ben Affleck. Someone just like, you should be called that, the accountant, right? The accountant. But I'm like, I'm not a fucking accountant. I'm an auditor. It's different, I look down on accountants, No, I'm just kidding.
For all of our CPAs and accountants out there, we love you still. We still
Yeah,
love you.
yeah.
So,
But
and that's actually a really interesting thing about you, because not only do you live the life of being like a world class athlete and all the things that go with that, but you have like a regular life outside of this. I know you have a spouse and you have a regular day to day job. And I was curious, how do you manage all this? How do you juggle all this? Like, you're competing on a world stage, but you're working stiff like the rest of us too.
it's hard. I mean, it takes a lot of planning. I got to really organize my days. I still need time to rest, to have some time for myself. So yeah, it's all about planning and just not wasting any time, being as efficient as possible. My work is also very flexible, so I can take a week off anytime I go for these fights, no problem, as long as I got that, it's called compensatory time or annual leave, or even sick leave accumulated, which I do. So I just gotta kind of keep track of that and kind of plan ahead on my off days. So yeah, I mean that the job flexibility helps. And I've been doing this for a long time, so I just have a strict regimen. I know what I gotta do on what day. I know when I rest. Even when I rest during the week, it's usually like during the week is my rest day, just so I focus on like going to work, for example, then coming home and resting. Right. I train a lot on the weekends too, Saturdays, Sundays, and those are my favorite days because I don't gotta rush after work or be anywhere. It's nice and pleasant just to go for one workout or two workouts and be done, and not have to go back to work or go home and do chores or something.
Is there ever, Kuba, has there ever been a day where you're just like a regular dude, where you're not doing work stuff and you're not doing MMA stuff, like where you can just play The Witcher or whatever it is that you want for a day and be left alone?
I still have days like that, Sometimes when it's off season, like right after the fight, the 2 weeks after the fight are pretty sweet, maybe even 3 or 4. So now October will be pretty chill, I'll just be, I won't have to do a lot of conditioning stuff after this fight. I'll just be kind of maintaining what I have. So I won't have to go and spend extra time weightlifting or anything like that. So it'll be just some type of quick cardio and one training. And that's an hour and a half, which is nothing, usually I'm there 2.5 hours at least. So that for me that makes a hell of a difference. So
What's really fascinating about you is you're still very, very young, and you've only been a professional fighter since 2017. That's really not a long, long time, but you've already accomplished so much. You became the PFLE lightweight champion. You've gone up. You fought against some of the best fighters in Europe. And I would go as far as to say, I don't even think you're in your athletic prime yet, but you've already accomplished more than what your typical fighter does. Do you ever sit back and kind of reflect on some of the things that you've already accomplished? And is it kind of surreal sometimes?
uh, well, honestly, people tell me that my great achievements that I've done, but I guess my life hasn't really drastically that changed. I'm not like so famous to the point where I go to the street and people recognize me, or I don't make $1 million, right? I'm not that rich or famous, but it makes me happy because I just like staying busy. I like training, and I feel like I'm constantly getting better, and that's what this journey's for me. That's the point of the journey, is to keep getting better and get to the best best Kuba fighter that I can be. But yeah, I guess thinking about it, the after this last fight with Kane in March, that was the first time I had a break, and I kind of could relax and look back on it like, oh, cool. I mean, I'm the first PFL European champion, right? Like, belt's pretty fucking sweet. So yeah, it's over time. It's sort of hitting me, and even fighting in Paris in front of 20,000 people, right? It's most people don't get to do that, so I feel like I should be a bit more proud or impressed, but I'm really not because I keep looking at the next next thing.
It totally makes sense. One of the things I like so much about PFL Europe is they do a really great job of marketing the fighters. They do a really good job of like introducing you guys to a world stage, and we saw Dakota Ditcheva really take advantage of that. They really did a great job
Oh
of
yeah,
promoting her, and she kind of like did that, use PFLE as like a springboard to get into the PFL, and now she's one fight removed from, or actually she'll be fighting in the title
yeah.
really, very, really soon against Talia Santos. And when you look at like how successful she's been, do you like look at what she's done in her career and think to yourself, like, I'm like following in those footsteps. Like I could be achieving all the accolades that she did in PFL very soon.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a possibility, right? But just the weight category, I have no expectations for me in this regard, just because my weight category is most average males are in the 155 category. It's the most competitive, hardest weight class in the world, right? So I guess I don't have expectations of even winning the 1 million tournament. I'm sure shit gonna try, right? But I don't have an expectation like, oh, I'm gonna fucking win this. I'm the best. Yeah, that's very hard to do. And Ditcheva is really good. I mean, she's just blows those girls out of the park, right? It's not even a competition. But I'm happy that she won PFL Europe, and she kind of set them off right as well, which was nice. Got them started, and now she's going to get the big bucks. So yeah, I'm hoping next year I'll be in the same position. That's my goal.
I want to hit on a fight that you just had. You went up against Kane Mousah. This is a guy that I've been watching him fight for a long time. I remember him from Bellator. I think Kane's a legend, and you went out there, and it was a very, very impressive win for you. But like, was that kind of weird? Because like for the first time, I felt like it was one of those situations where you weren't fighting another prospect. You weren't fighting like a John Mitchell. You weren't fighting a Dylan Tuke. You're fighting Kane, like one of the most, like one of the guys from like English MMA from like that part of the world. And you went out there and you did the thing. Like, can you tell me like what do you remember about fighting Kane, and what are some of the highlights that you
Yeah.
recall from that bout?
Well, it's funny because before the fight, like you said, it was like, dude, you're fighting Kane Mousah, bro, the legend. Who? What? I don't fucking know. I don't watch MMA, so I really didn't know. Like, okay,
Fair
cool,
enough.
whatever. uh, but yeah, I mean, I really underestimate him before the fight. I thought I rolled through him. I didn't. It was, some people say it was a close fight. I mean, I knew I won after the fight. Like I knew I didn't lose, but he's a very smart guy, and yeah, the difference between him and those prospects is he knows how to make a change in the fight, to change his style or to adapt, and he can be a whole different fighter in the second, third round, which he did. Right, he actually adapted, improved, and made it harder for me to win, which I was like, oh shit, I never done that before. I overcame it, right? But no one's ever really switched up anything like that before on me. So that was really cool, honestly. And yeah, he's a cool dude. I didn't really get to talk to him after the fight, but I follow him on social media, and I like watching him. He's cool. He's a really cool, good dude. So I wish the best for him. Yeah, and I think he won that. Did you watch him fight Tuke?
Yeah, I did actually. I did.
I'm
I did
sorry.
watch
Yeah.
him. Yeah, I thought he. I was a little surprised at that one. Yeah, I wasn't. I thought he beat Dylan personally.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, he didn't know he couldn't adapt for him because Duke is just such a weird dude to fight against, with his style. But yeah, I thought just by looking at the statistics that Kane won, honestly.
And when you fought Kane, you talked about him making adjustments and just being a very difficult out. Can you tell me, like, from the inverse, like, what adjustments did you have to make over the course of that bout with Kane?
Well, that's the problem. I didn't really make any adjustments, I would say. That's why it got so close by the end. I just kept, I tried to wrestle him, but he was just, he started to be lower, right?
Hmm.
He really changed his position. He got lower, and and really did well at neutralizing my wrestling. I still overpowered him eventually, but it took a lot of energy and strength, and it wasn't pretty, right? Looking back now, I should have probably stood up and struck with him more. But in that first round, my wrestling was so dominant and working that I was like, I'm just gonna keep doing that. But in the end, I did outstrike him 196 to like 100 or something. So, but I didn't hurt him. I
Mhm.
wanted to hurt him, and I didn't do that. And I guess if I was just more patient and sat down more on my punches more, maybe I could have done something better in this regard.
Well, you went out there, and regardless, you got the win, which is the most important thing. And here we are, 6 months later into the future. Daniele Scatizzi, a tough Italian kid that you'll be going up against. He's 13-7, and on paper, record doesn't look that great. But when you do a deeper dive of him, you start looking at some of the guys that he's lost against. It's like he's only lost to like top shelf competition. Do you feel that a lot of people underestimate this guy?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think a lot of people do. I think looking from the beginning of the tournament, I knew that this guy's gonna be the hardest guy to fight, and I knew he was gonna be in the tournament because I saw him in the prelims, like in the in the qualifiers last year, and I thought I would be versing him for the title, but yeah, he for me honestly is the best guy just because he's such a veteran and he's so knowledgeable and he's big too. I think he's bigger out of than all those guys. So got the most fights, but yeah, he's just on paper he's the best. I think.
And that espouses this next question. He has like almost twice the amount of professional experience that you do. Do you have to, when you go up against a fighter with that much of an experience edge over you, do you have to change anything? Like, do you have to like have like the perfect game plan, or is this just another fight at the end of the day?
Well, he may have more professional fights, right? But I've competed in wrestling, right? I had like 150 wrestling matches. I was second in state in wrestling in the state of Florida, which it's in the United States. That's a whole different level of competition. I was a state boxer. And, I won state Golden Gloves in Florida. I had like 25 boxing fights. I fought 5 fights IKF. And then on top of that, I had about seven. Yeah, I had seven amateur fights in the United States, and Florida amateur is different than European amateur. Pretty much amateur fights in the States are, I would say, like semi-pro in Europe. So those 7 fights still account for a lot of experience that I have. I would almost count them like he counts his professional fights. So I would say, technically I could be, 19, I don't know. But
When
I
I
just
think
could, yeah, I consider myself more technical because of all the different competitions that I specifically done for each combat sport, right? And I think that's where my advantage lies, and that's where I think I'll beat him.
when I think of you, I think of somebody who's a very, very high level grappler, a very, very high level wrestler. And in this contest, or actually, what I want, let me rephrase. When I think of you, I think about those elements of MMA, but I know that you can do a lot more things. You just don't necessarily have to show it all the time. Do you feel with your striking in particular that people maybe not get, they don't give your striking as much credit as it may deserve? Because you're a very, very strong guy, and I don't think people like getting touched by you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have like Tempura striking power, but I'm very every punch always hurts, and that's what these guys notice when they get my jab, they get hit by my jab. Won't necessarily knock him out, but it fucking hurts, right? And it's maybe my precision is not there yet, and that's what I'm working with my coach lately. And those are some of the strides we've made in the past 3-4 months. It's just the precision and sitting down with punches. But yeah, I mean, I'm a great technical fighter, but like I said, I'm still working on my precision, but it will get there. And once that activates, I'll be a world class, elite world class fighter.
And can you tell me, without giving away too many secrets
Ah!
here, in this upcoming fight against Scatizzi, like, do you like look at him and think to yourself, like, I have a distinct advantage over my opponent in these particular areas?
I just think I'm better everywhere. I
Hmm.
really do, from striking to wrestling to jiu-jitsu. I mean, I'm just gonna have to keep it variable, right? Keep him guessing, and yeah, because I will beat him everywhere he tries to match me. And he's kind of he's a gun ho guy. He will just keep going forward, and that's not the smartest game plan. I
Well,
think.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you tune in and watch the fight PFL Europe 3 that will be airing on September 28th. One final question for you, and I know we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. I know there's still a formidable path forward, and not to suggest you're looking ahead of anybody, but I know the aim is to defend your title. I know the aim is to come out on top and bring a second belt back to Florida with you, be the back-to-back PFLE lightweight champion. And I know that sounds pretty good. Can you tell me just kind of like what would defending your title, what would that mean for you at this point in 2024, and where can we expect to see you in 2025?
Defending my title will be awesome because I want that 100 grand again, and I want to be the second PFL European Lightweight Champ because the first one was pretty cool as well. And I want to represent my home country, the fatherland, and I want to make them proud. And yeah, it's a goal for me. For me, to get to the $1 million tournament, I gotta win this, right? So that's the goal, and that's everything I'm striving for.
Well, there you go. We'll conclude at that. And as always, I want to give you the mic to conclude our interview. If there's anything that you'd like to mention, plug, anyone you'd like to thank, let's do it.
Gotcha. I want to thank Gracie Bar Jacksonville, my coach Gene Bautista, my wife, my dad, my ma, and then my sponsors, Grappler Mag. And Grappler Mag is owned by my buddy who's an Air Force PJ, and a bunch of his mates, I guess, from the PJs are organizing like a money fund for me to put their logo on my shorts. So I want to thank them for supporting me. And yeah, hoorah to the PJs and Grappler Mag.
Kuba, as always, a pleasure to have you on the program. I really appreciate the time. I'm looking forward to your bout on the 28th of September. I wish you the best of skill and look forward to having you back on the program very soon, sir.
Super. Pleasure talking to you, Tyler, as always. Thank you.